Life is short, and being in radio can grind it to a halt. Influence FM is for running your stations at your convenience, when you want, where you want. With Influence FM, you can now do the impossible. Enjoy your life, all the while knowing that Influence FM will notify you instantly about any anomalies. And with the flick of a thumb, you can see that your station's assets and operations are running at full speed. Go ahead, take that vacation. We dare you. We sell freedom, not software. Free yourself to do, well, precisely what you want.
Day 4, and welcome to Day 4. How's your brain? Well, see, I didn't ask how are you because I really don't want to know how you are. How you doing on not doing that? Kind of fun, isn't it? Remember, what you want to do is walk up to people and say, good to see you. That's much better than, how are you? And then get down to the point of what you're doing. All right, here we go today. And this is all part of preparation. And everything you're going through over these 15 days is preparing you. But I'm going to tell you, by the end of next week, you're going to be ready to stand in front of a customer for the first time on your own. Now, this is a checklist. This is a checklist for flying a Cessna 172. Why do I have this checklist up? Well, I fly airplanes. I enjoy flying airplanes. I can probably fly it without a checklist. But why would I? See, one of the things you don't want to do is forget something when you're flying an airplane. Like, I forgot to check to see if I had any gas. It's not always great to be, 5,000 or 6,000 feet in the air and 20 miles from any airport and figure out, oops, I forgot to get gas. So you go through a checklist every single time to make sure you haven't left anything out. I suggest that you should have daily checklists to deal with your business of selling radio ads. But you should also have checklists for every one of your presentations. What am I going to do? How am I going to do it? The other thing about flying is every 2 years I have to take a test to prove that I still know what the heck I'm doing. But they do let me bring my checklists. By the way, on this checklist are also things like, what do you do if the engine catches fire? What do you do if the oil pressure drops? What do you do if this? What do you do if that? Believe me when I tell you, I have all those memorized. But if there's flames coming out of the front of the plane, I'm not sure that I would get everything correctly. So I pick up the board and I start reading it off. Okay, shut off the gas, shut off the electrical system, pull this, push that, and so forth. You should have the same checklist ready at all times. So, here's your preparation. Let's talk about before the first time you call them. What do I know about this person? How much can I find out about this person before I ever walk in the door? But by the way, don't be creepy about it. Don't be looking saying, how much can I find out? And then say, I want to find out, who he's dating or this or that. It can get just a little bit too much. What do I know about their business specifically, and what do I know about their business category? The latter is a lot easier than the previous. But the previous can be found by looking at their web page or finding them on Facebook, looking at the people they associate with, looking at the blogs. Who's their competition? Now, we learned about your assistant. Remember your Google assistant? They will tell you who the competition is. So let's say you're talking about fast food restaurants. Go to Google Maps, put in fast food and your zip code, and it's going to pop up a map of all their competitors. And then you want to research all the competitors. Now, there's 2 reasons for this. Number one, you should be able to talk about their competition, before they surprise you with what it is. But number 2, if you can't sell this guy, why not sell his competitor the same idea you're going to pitch him? What is this place's competitive advantage? Well, we have a bigger parking lot, or we're open later, or we have this, or we have that. All right? But remember, all of their competitors. If they say we can get you any pair of boots in a week, well, how fast can Amazon.com get you the boots? So now, that is not their biggest competitive advantage. It's one of theirs, but it's not a real competitive advantage. What is the competitive advantage? And then the last thing is, what am I going to say when I walk in the door? The first words out of my mouth. That's why I told you your opening needs to be practiced. And not only does your opening need to be practiced, so does your elevator speech. Something special, something that I can say in 30 seconds that makes them say, I want to know more. Now, a battle plan. This is a battle plan from World War II. It shows where everything's going and who's going to do and what. And Dwight D. Eisenhower, commander of that theater, said, in preparing for battle, I've always found that plans are useless, but preparation is indispensable. What does this mean? You can go ahead and plan how this call is going to go, but they're not following the script. See, Eisenhower had all these plans that we're going to move this, then we're going to do that, and the Germans will do this and do that. But the Germans didn't do this and that. They changed it up. However, in planning for battle, you plan for the contingencies. If this, then that. Anybody who has any experience in writing computer programs know. If this, then that. Be prepared for everything that can come your way. And then we get on to what Henry Ford said about thinking. Yeah, you do have to practice thinking. Because as you see, Colin Powell says, no battle plan survives contact with the enemy. It's not going to go your way. Something is going to change up. They're going to say something that hopefully you were prepared for. Then you have to think your way through. What's going to happen next? And are you prepared for everything? Now, a lot of salespeople go out, they get all their stuff together, then they go wing it. Again, I said, you're asking for the price of a Buick. Wouldn't you want to practice this presentation and practice it with a sparring partner? Somebody who's going to shout you down. Somebody who's going to give you objections that you weren't expecting. Somebody who's going to, give and get just a little bit. See, Muhammad Ali, big boxer when I was younger, his sparring partner was a guy named George Foreman. Now, you know him as the cuddly bald guy at the George Foreman grill. He wasn't. He was a massive fighting machine. And he used to fight George Foreman to get him ready for Joe Frazier. And Foreman was not that much more gentle than Frazier. So what you do is you make sure your sparring partner is at least as good as you are, if not better. That's how you'll get better. So, how many times do you practice the presentation? I can't tell you how many times in the old days somebody would show up with a cassette recorder with the ads on it, they'd push the button and find out the batteries were dead. Somebody comes in now with their cell phone and their Bluetooth speaker. Oh, I forgot the Bluetooth speaker. So they're trying to play it on this little 47-cent cell phone speaker. Why not bring them into the studio and let them hear it in there where it sounds terrific? But are you prepared? Have you gone through the presentation in such a way that you don't get off track? Next up, think about these things. All right, so I trucked my butt all the way over to see this guy and he's not there. What are you going to do? Oh, well, here's my card. Tell him I was here. I'll call him back. Well, fine. That's what every salesman does. What are you going to do to be different? Sometimes you can stand there and go, I'll wait. But what's your plan? Okay, I have a few scenarios on that we're going to talk about in week 3. Next, what do you do if you get there and your competitor is there? Now, I've been told all types of scenarios, and maybe your boss has a different one than mine. Some people say, well, if your competitor is there, you should walk out and leave. No, I don't. I sit down. Now, I don't get in their business. I sit down on the couch. I take out my phone. I start working on something different. Am I working on something different? Nope, I'm listening. I am not going to even talk about my competitor being there. And if this guy says to me, well, your competitor just pitched me this and that and this and that, I'm not going to come back and say, oh, well, that's stupid. I'm not even going to pay attention to them. One of the worst things we do is insult our competitors, so I would stay there. What if I get there and the guy's just in a lousy mood? Am I going to try to push my cause? A lot of times I'll just fold everything up and say, come on, let's go get a cup of coffee and let's not talk business today. No, what'd you come here to talk about? No, I'm not talking business today. You are not into it, and I have days I'm not into it. Now, you going to come let me buy you breakfast or not? I'm going to tell you that if you can get him out of the business and not talk about business, halfway through breakfast or lunch, he's going to say, what did you want to show me today? Do you really want to deal with this today? Okay, and then push it across, and you're on a different plane. You understand. And if it's just not going to budge them out of the office, say, listen, I'll come back another day, and get out of their hair. What are you going to do? Do you have a plan for this? You're driving along, you're about to do a $65,000 closing, you got everything set up, this guy's got himself, his board, everybody's ready to go, and you get a phone call from the school. Your kid is sick and you need to come get him. Uh-oh, what do I do now? Well, did you plan for that in advance? This is what we talk about with preparation, and I'm talking about for any meeting. Do you have, if one of your kids gets sick at school, do you have a plan every single day? Do you have somebody who can cover your butt on this? You get there and the business is jammed with people. I know what I'm doing. I'm going to put down all my stuff, roll up my sleeves, walk up to the guy and say, how can I help? And I've done it. A number of years ago, I worked on the East Coast. I was at a place called Agway. Agway is a feed and grain store and tack shop. And I get there, and the owner is standing in the back of a pickup truck. It's February. Not a pickup, a box truck. And it's full of birdseed. Not full, but about half full of birdseed. And I said, what are we doing here? He goes, well, I just was able to buy this for 20 cents on a dollar because it was not delivered to where it had to go. He goes, and I don't know what I'm going to do with this. Well, fortunately, I was station manager, so I had a little levitation. I said, hey, let's get on the air right now. So what did we do? We called the radio station on the phone. They put us through in the studio. We didn't have cell phones then. Put me through in the studio. I started talking to the announcer saying, hey, we're at Agway where we've got such and such birdseed. It's been below zero and the birds are hungry and da-da-da-da-da. Well, usually this stuff is $2 a bag. But what we're going to do now, because we feel bad for the birds, we're selling it for 75 cents a bag. What do you think happened? We sold out all the birdseed to all the little old ladies. This guy was happier than hell. I stayed with him in the truck, hauling this junk out of the truck. Now, I'm not saying that's what you have to do, but I'm saying involve yourself. Think like a human. If the place is mobbed, how can you help? Next up, how do I look? This is what you have to ask yourself. You can't see my shoes because I didn't let them go down that low. But do I look like somebody that inspires confidence? Or is my shirt wrinkled? Well, the lights make it look more wrinkled than it is. Are my nails bit down to nothing? Do I smell like smoke? I love people who smoke in their car. They come in and they don't think you can see. You carry a cloud, trust me, if you smoke in your car. Does everything about me inspire confidence? And by the way, I do look at salespeople's shoes. It's just a thing. If you don't care enough to keep your shoes shined, you don't care enough about yourself. Do I look and sound like the kind of person that inspires confidence? But here's something interesting to think about. Look at this. Look at that graph. You see what Stephen Covey says here? Most people don't listen to understand. They're not even listening. They're waiting to talk about what they want to talk about next. I dare you to do something today. Every time you talk to somebody, after they finish, in your head count 1, 2, and then talk. Now, if there's other people around you, they're going to jump right in and take up the space. And then you just count 1, 2. And eventually, when you do talk, after counting to 2, everybody's going to look at you and go, okay, he's been thinking about this. Most people listen saying, I'm figuring out what I'm going to say next, instead of saying, I'm actively listening. Actively listening. I'm trying to figure out what they're saying. But look at this other graph. 82% of people prefer to talk to somebody who's a great listener, not a great speaker. Now, really, I'd be rather listen to you right now, but this technology does not allow it. So today, I'm just teaching. You don't have to teach. Give them the questions and give them the, look at this funnel. And this is the open-end question funnel. We start with very open-ended questions. An open-ended question might be something like, what kind of people would you like to see in this business? Okay? And they say, well, I'd like to see older people. Now comes a probing question. What do you consider old? And they say, okay, is there any male-female breakout? That's a probing question. Do you have any specific bottom demographic? That's another probe. Now what happens? If you look at the bottom of the funnel, it says this is a check question. The check question is now a yes or no question. Okay, Mr. Businessman, what you've told me is you'd like to see more snowbirds come into your business, but that are no older than the age of 70 and no younger than about 40 who own second homes in this area and don't drive RVs. Is that what you said? He says yes, he says no. Now the question goes out of the bottom of the funnel and you go back to the top of the funnel. Say, what kind of people are you seeing now? Not, are those the people you're seeing now? What kind of people? See the difference between the open and close? So if you always picture the funnel as you're asking the questions. Open-ended, closed question is the check. And by the way, this little graphic here on listen just gives you some ideas of questions. Now, if you look at this, you say, all right, now what? Well, when I walk in, I better look knowledgeable. I better know what is the most important thing right now. And am I up to the second on news? Now, I have a number of places I get my news every day. And I talked about in our first day, what are you doing at 6 a.m.? What are you doing at 7 a.m.? Are you reading the news? And not just the national news and the local news and the state news, also the entertainment news. Hey, we're in radio. They think we know something about entertainment. So you better know, if somebody's, some star's cheese fell off their cracker or some big star just got married, all right? Information is knowledge. Knowledge is power. If I know more about your business than you know, I have power. Now I say this. Are you up to date on your competition? Well, this is an interesting graphic. The body of all possible knowledge. Now take a look at this. There are things you realize and know. That's the green slice. Those are the things I realize and the things I know. But notice how small that is. Because the next section is things that I realize I don't know. Okay? And that's a lot bigger. Here's the things I know, and here's the things I don't know. But the problem is, that big yellow part is the things I don't realize I don't know. The biggest percentage is the things that you don't realize that you don't know. How's that for scary? Now think about that in terms of your competition. Well, here's what I know, and here's what I think I should know. But what's all this other stuff that I don't realize that I don't know? And this is where, I've got my spy versus spy thing here, but realistically, you really have to dig in. And also when you're dealing with the competitors of the people that you're presenting to. Where do you stand on the knowledge of his competitors and bringing him up to date? Or are you his personal spy? But I'm going to tell you something else. Be very careful sharing information about competition. Because here's what happens. If you're an outsider and you come to me and you want to tell me about my competition, I'm not going to tell you anything. Because when you tattle on somebody, you're actually tattling on yourself. And you're tattling that you are a tattletale. All right, that was an old dumb movie. But what I'm telling you is, when you show up with information on somebody that I'm competing with, I'm assuming that you're going back with information on my business. So you walk a very fine line in here. Again, things you don't realize you don't know. And until you start trying to uncover, you'll never know what that is. Then we come down to your next problem. You know, the old saying was, you don't want to be a used car salesman because they're, you can't trust them. Well, I've never found that to be the case. But here it is, the honesty factor. And, some people can fake honesty, but you can't fake it for long. It'll catch up with you. So somebody says, well, what's my competitor over there doing? I know you guys have them on. Say, listen, if I told you that, you would lose all respect for me. Wouldn't you? So that's honesty. I like this quote from Gandhi. A no uttered from deepest conviction is better than a yes merely uttered to please, or worse, to avoid trouble. Think about that both in your business and your personal life. All right, your homework for today. First of all, I want your elevator speech written and completed. In other words, your elevator speech. And let me give you an example. A number of years ago, when we put out the Influence FM software, I was working with the Technopolis project at a university in Phoenix. And the guy said to me, what's your elevator speech? I said, what the heck is that? He goes, well, who's your number one prospect? I said, boy, I'd love to pitch it to Bill Gates. He said, all right, imagine this. You're in this building, 26 stories tall. He goes, you walk up to the elevator, you get in, you turn, one other guy got in with you, and it's Bill Gates. Now, I'm going to tell you, there are people out there who say the days of the elevator speech are gone, but I don't believe it. We are both going to the 26th floor. I have 30 seconds to get Bill Gates to show interest. That's my elevator speech. It's also used in networking. I'm at a cocktail party. Bill Gates says, hey, what do you do? I got 30 seconds to get his attention. 30 seconds, amazing how that works, is your elevator speech. Now imagine he says to me, geez, Chris, he's holding the door open. I got to get to this meeting over here. Tell me a little more. Now I've got 2 minutes for what's called the executive summary. 2 minutes for an executive summary. This is where I give him 2 minutes more, going into a little more detail and now showing him some benefits of him working with me. So we got the elevator speech, which is just designed to get him to say, tell me more. I've got the executive summary, and this is to get me the appointment. All I'm looking to do with my executive summary is give him a little more benefits, a few more features with the benefits to him, so he says, can we set up a meeting? That's it. Elevator speech to get him to say, tell me more, executive summary to get me my appointment. I want you to practice your opening. Hi, I'm Chris from the radio stations. I've done a little preliminary research on your business. I think that by you and I working together, we can each put a few more coins in our pockets. That's designed to get him to say, tell me more. Okay? Practice handling an opening objection. Everybody at the station can give you an opening objection. I want you to have each person give you one, and I want you to figure out how you're going to deal with it. Work with your sales manager a little bit. Practice how you hand over your business card. Now, I like to keep my business card tucked in my back pocket, which is right back here. Right side up and ready. So when I pull it out of my pocket and present it like this with my left hand, my right hand is free to shake hands with them. So now they see my face, they see my name, I'm shaking hands with them. More on that to come. And now the next person you talk to today, after this meeting, I want you to see how long you can keep them talking without you having to say a word. Silence is tough, isn't it? Learn to work it. I'll see you tomorrow.
Life is short, and being in radio can grind it to a halt. Influence FM is for running your stations at your convenience, when you want, where you want. With Influence FM, you can now do the impossible. Enjoy your life, all the while knowing that Influence FM will notify you instantly about any anomalies. And with the flick of a thumb, you can see that your station's assets and operations are running at full speed. Go ahead, take that vacation. We dare you. We sell freedom, not software. Free yourself to do, well, precisely what you want.